Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. This portable drive has all of my games on it. My Switch games, my PS2 games, my GameCube games, and my Steam library. I can plug this into any computer I use and all of my games are there with a beautiful front end ready to launch and play easily. And today I'm going to show you how to build your own completely for free. In order to build this, you can use all kinds of different physical media. From a simple USB stick you probably have tons of lying around, to an external SSD like this Samsung T5, I'm going to be using this rather fetching little case from Terramaster. This is their D1 SSD enclosure, which encases a high-speed M.2 drive. With the price of all physical media these days becoming absolutely bonkers, and storage literally becoming more expensive than its weight in gold, we need to protect these babies with our lives! So thank you to Terramaster for sending me this lovely D1 enclosure, which has great connection speeds and can withstand over a ton of pressure, making sure your storage stays safe. So grab your storage of choice and let's jump into the computer. So with the drive plugged into your computer, the first thing we're going to do is right click it and choose Format. For file system, we'll choose exFAT. Give it a name, I'll just call mine Game Drive. Check Quick Format and press Start. Click OK, and we're going to start off with a completely fresh, empty drive and get up and running. Open your web browser and come to RetroBat.org. This is the front end we're going to use to play all of our games. I'll link this in the description below as well, and feel free to follow my written guide. So on this RetroBat download page, you'll see the latest version of RetroBat and a simple download now button. So let's click that. It will take us to the GitHub latest release page. Scroll down under Assets, and choose the exe file at the top. RetroBat stable win64 setup.exe. Let's save that file to our download folder. Once it finishes downloading, we're going to open up the file. If you get one of these protection screens, just click More Info and Run Anyway. Click Next, I accept, Next, Next. And we're going to install this directly to our external drive. So click Browse. And we want to make sure we select our gaming drive here. For me, it's the F drive. For you, it might be D or E. Just check the name, whatever you called the drive, and click OK. Then click Install. Once it's done, you can check Run RetroBat.exe and press Finish. And we're now going to be launched into our beautiful RetroBat front end, which will be running off of this drive. You can control this with your keyboard and mouse, as I am doing now, but I recommend connecting a controller for the best experience. So before we get deep into the weeds of RetroBat and how to set it up, let's first add all of our games. So I'll hit the Start button on my controller. You could also hit the Enter button on your keyboard, and we'll come down to Quit. If you open your gaming drive, you'll now see you have a whole list of files and folders set up for you by RetroBat. First of all, we're going to come into the ROMs folder. Here you will see all kinds of game folders, things you're likely to recognize such as GameCube, Game Gear, GB for Game Boy, GBA for Game Boy Advance, etc. And now what you want to do is drag all of your game files into these folders. If you want to know how to get your own game files, check out these two excellent videos I'll link in the description from Wolfden and Joey's Retro Handhelds, who go over lots of methods for getting your own games onto your computer. Once you've got your games, drag them all into these relevant folders here. So for example, here is my Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories PlayStation 1 game file, and I'm going to drag it into the PSX folder. That's the PlayStation 1 folder. So I'll just drag the game into the folder, and now it will be ready to run in RetroBat. So let's once again come to our game drive and open RetroBat. When you open RetroBat, your games will automatically be added in. So we now have a few more game categories that we didn't have before. These are the games I just added. When I come along to PlayStation, you can see it says we have one game. So in order to play this game using my controller, I'll just hit the X button, and then here is our one game. Let's hit the X button again, and the game will just open. No further setup is necessary. The game will launch, your controller will automatically work. We even have this lovely bezel showing that it's a PlayStation 1 around the screen as well. You are ready to go. If you just want to play some retro games, then congratulations, you're already done. But let's delve a lot deeper into this and see how else we can customize. In order to quit any game, you're going to press Select and Start at the same time. That is the shortcut to get out of the game and back into the RetroBat menu. Let's now go back and we can look at the other games we have. I also added another few games as well. I added a Game Boy Color game, a Game Boy Advance game, etc. Now let's customize the way this looks a little bit. Let's add box art to make it more beautiful. First of all, let's get some box art. So instead of just seeing this generic grey cartridge picture, we can see a lovely picture of our game. In order to do that, we're going to press the Start button and come down to Scraper. Where it says Scrape From, we're going to select this, and you have a few options. Screen Scraper is generally regarded as the best one, so I would suggest choosing Screen Scraper, then going to the Screen Scraper website, I'll link in the description below, and signing up for a free account. Then back in RetroBat, come to Accounts, and enter your username and password. We have some options for what kind of artwork you would like. If you're not sure, just leave it as default, but if you would like to get more granular with it, there are a lot of choices. When you're ready, hit Scrape Now. You'll get a notification at the top right of the screen showing that you are now scraping for games. I have 10 games which are now being scraped. After a few minutes, it will say that scraping is finished. Update game list to apply the changes. So we're going to bring up the menu again, go to Game Settings, and then Update Game Lists. Hit Yes, and this is going to now update your game list with all the new pictures. So now when we go into our games, you'll see we have lovely pictures for all of them, and even videos if we don't press anything for a little while. So now let's customize everything a little bit more and change the overall theme. Come back into the main menu and go to User Interface Settings. Here you can see the theme is set to ES Theme Carbon by default. If you want to try a different theme, which I highly recommend because there are lots of beautiful ones, go back, come down to Updates and Downloads, Themes, and here is the theme downloader. You'll see a little screenshot of what it looks like on the right hand side. If we take one of the most popular ones, for example, which is Artbook Next, let's just click on that and then install. You'll see at the top right of the screen, it's currently downloading Artbook Next, and you have a little progress bar.
A few moments later.
I just finished downloading that theme and a few others, so let's bring up the menu once again and come back to User Interface Settings. Now when we come to Theme Set, we have a few to choose from. So let's look at that Artbook Next ES theme. Let's go back. And now you'll see we have a new theme. This is a very popular one in the gaming handheld community. I'm sure you've seen this a lot. So now when we choose one of our game categories, here we have the box art, the game information, ratings, videos, all that great stuff. I also installed the themes Omegadrive, which looks like this, Meringue Knulli, or Knulli, however you pronounce that, which looks like this. I'm liking this one because this is exactly what my Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance look like. And another very popular one, Iconic, which you've probably seen before. You can also customize these more by coming into User Interface Settings and coming down to Theme Configuration. Here you can do things like changing the color scheme from light to dark and changing whether your games show in a list or in a grid. There is plenty of customization you can jump into. So now at this point, you should be set up with all of your retro systems, box art for the games you want to play, a customized theme for the overall launcher, and the ability to just jump into a game you might want to play very simply. So now let's jump into some systems that require a little bit more setup. Some games, such as PlayStation 2 games, when you launch them, it will need to install the relevant emulator. All you need to do is say, yes, install now please, and it will download and install the emulator and set it up for you. And then you'll be into the game and ready to play just like any other system. Let's now go over Nintendo Switch games because these require a little bit more setup. When you try to launch it, it's going to tell you that the emulator is missing. So what we need to do is come into the main menu, Game Settings, scroll all the way down to the very bottom of the list where it says Per System Advanced Configuration. In here we're going to choose Switch, and where it says Emulator Auto, we're going to click on that and change it to Ryujinx. Next we need to download the Ryujinx files. I'll put this link in the description below. This is the Ryujinx Ryubing release. Here is the latest release from 9 months ago. We're going to scroll down until we see Downloads here. We're going to select the WinX64 zip file and download this. Once it finishes downloading, extract it, and you'll see a folder called Publish. Inside there are all of our Ryujinx files. We're going to select those and copy them. Go to your gaming drive, emulators, Ryujinx, and paste them all here. To set up a Switch emulator, you're going to need a Switch firmware file and a prod.keys file. You can find these quite easily. Get the newest ones you can find with matching number versions, and return back to RetroBat. Find your Nintendo Switch category. When you launch a Switch game for the first time, it's going to tell you that it cannot find the keys file. So we're going to install that and the firmware file now. So click Actions at the top of the screen, Install Keys, and then press Keys, navigate to where you downloaded that prod.keys file and select it. Hit Yes, and the keys file will install immediately. Click OK, and we now need to install the firmware. So once again, hit Actions, Install Firmware, XCI or zip, navigate to where you downloaded your firmware file and select that. Hit Yes, and again after a second or two it will be successfully installed. Hit OK, and you're now ready to play Switch games. Close the application and go back to RetroBat. Now we're simply just going to launch the game one more time, and this time the game will launch correctly, and all of our Switch games should launch correctly from now on. And with Switch games being native 16:9 resolution, there are no borders or bezels this time, just a beautiful full screen game with our controller working out of the box, and everything just being beautiful and ready to play with minimal setup. Oh, so close. Once again, we can use Select and Start to quit out of this and get straight back into RetroBat and continue playing all of our favorite games. So now let's jump into Windows games, the ones that require a little bit more setup. RetroBat actually does have its own Windows games option. If you open the main menu, go to Game Settings, scroll down until you find Windows Games, you can select Scan Installed Store Games like Steam games, Epic Games, etc. And if you toggle this on, it will try to just detect all your Windows games for you. But I found that if you enable this, it can cause all kinds of problems, like showing game launcher files, uninstall files. It can get really cluttered and messy very quickly. So instead, we're going to keep things very clean and come at this from a different angle. So let's come into our game drive and let's clean things up. First of all, we're going to put all of these files and folders on the game drive into a new folder called RetroBat. So let's select everything and drag it into that new folder. Now we're going to create a brand new folder for our PC games. We're going to call it PC-Games. And if you're following along with me, copy this title exactly, because I'm going to give you a simple little script file that's going to make all of this super simple. The reason we're keeping PC games separate from RetroBat is because they're not contained within RetroBat like ROMs are. RetroBat will launch them for us, but we want to keep them separate so we can clean them up and just put the super clean stripped down file inside RetroBat. We don't want to give RetroBat all of the messy game folders. So we're going to put some games into this PC games folder. Let's begin with easy games, ones that don't require any special licensing or launches. Good Old Games is a great resource for these kinds of games. All games from Good Old Games don't require any DRM or licensing. You can just put them on a USB stick and just run them from anywhere. So you can buy some games here and download the GOG Galaxy, which is this application I've got here, and here are some of the games I've bought. They've got games such as Cyberpunk, Mina the Hollower. They've got a great collection. I'll download one of my personal little favorites called Snapshot. You could download the game like normal and then just simply drag that folder into that PC games folder on your portable drive. Or when you go to download a game in GOG Galaxy, you could simply just select the PC games folder as your install folder and it would directly download any new game in there automatically. So we now have the Snapshot game downloaded in its own folder inside PC games. And because this is from GOG, we can just simply run the game without needing to install or run any other applications. It will simply just start working. If you want this game to show up inside RetroBat, which is the end goal and what we're going to do today, the easy method most people will use is they will copy this folder here into RetroBat, ROMs, Windows, and they'll just paste the game in here. So now we have our game folder inside RetroBat, ROMs, Windows, and if we go back to our gaming drive, RetroBat, and launch RetroBat, you'll see we have a new category for Windows games. But you're going to see the problem right now. We don't only have the Snapshot game, we have all of the executables. So we have Snapshot, launch Snapshot, and even an uninstall Snapshot file. Bear in mind, I've only added one game here. If you add all of your game collection, you're going to be sifting through a ton of irrelevant files like these uninstall files, and we don't want this. So let's exit out of here, and I'm going to show you how we declutter everything with this PC games format. So instead of having the whole game folder here in RetroBat, ROMs, Windows, which will expose all of the applications inside RetroBat, we're instead going to place the game in this PC games folder. We're going to delete the folder from ROMs Windows, and instead here we're going to put a little shortcut file which will link to the game itself inside the PC games folder. So we're going to open Notepad, And we're going to paste in this text, which I'll put in the description below and also in the written guide. Here is the name of the folder we're going to look inside, PC Games Snapshot. And then here is the name of the exe file we want to launch. So we want this script to look inside PC Games Snapshot, and then we want to launch snapshot.exe. One cool thing this script does is you'll notice here it doesn't say the drive letter. It doesn't say D drive or E or F or G. This special little string means whatever drive you're on right now. And this is another great feature of the script, that when I plug my drive into this computer, you can see mine is showing as an F drive. But then when I plug it into your computer, it might be a D drive or an E drive. So we're not explicitly saying D, E, or F. We're using this special code, which means whatever drive you're on right now. So look at whatever drive you're on right now, the PC Games folder, the Snapshot game folder, and launch snapshot.exe. We're going to save as, and we're going to save this on our game drive, RetroBat, ROMs, Windows, and we're going to call this the name of the game, so in this case, snapshot.bat. Now this is important. Save as type. Do not let this save as just a text file. Click that and choose all files. We don't want to save this as a text file. We want to save it as a BAT script file. Click save. And now that's done and ready to go. So let's just go back to our drive and I'll show you it in place. RetroBat, ROMs, Windows, and here we have a little snapshot BAT file. If we look inside by clicking edit, it's what we just wrote. It's wherever you are right now, go to PC Game Snapshot and open the snapshot game, please. So let's now open RetroBat again and see what happens when we try to launch this. Let's open our Windows games, and this time we only have one. We just have this one called Snapshot, nice and clean. Let's open it. It's going to run the script, and here we are inside our game. No uninstall files, no random extra launcher files, just the one exe, nice and clean. So that is the process of how to do it manually, but it can be quite time consuming. So I've made this Ryan Retro GameSync script for you. It's going to do many things that I will explain over the next 5 or 10 minutes, but the first one is what we just did. If you add a game, for example here I have Mina the Hollower from Good Old Games, into the PC Games folder, all you need to do is double click the script once, and within 1 second it will process all the games. What it did was go into PC Games, go through every game in the list, look through the applications and find the largest one, and then it created a link to that application in RetroBat, ROMs, Windows. So now we have a shortcut for all of our games. If I now show you this Mina the Hollower script that it created, as you can see, just like in the last example, it's wherever you are right now, PC Games, Mina the Hollower, go inside that folder and create a shortcut for the Mina the Hollower exe file. So the next time you open RetroBat, that shortcut's going to be there, ready to go. This script actually does a few clever things, and we'll get onto more of them next, because now we're going to talk about Steam games. Steam games are a little bit tricky because they require licensing, Steam to run in the background, and various things to prove that you actually own them. It's not the case of just throwing them on a drive and opening them like DRM-free games. So we have a couple of options here. The easy option is to install the game on every computer you own, and the portable drive will just be like a remote control, just telling it to launch that game from the computer. And that method you can set up in just a few seconds. If we come to Slay the Spire, for example, which I have installed on this computer, if I hit the cogwheel, manage, add desktop shortcut, I get a nice little shortcut here on my desktop. And we can simply just grab this shortcut and throw it onto our drive. So in RetroBat, ROMs, Windows, we can just throw this shortcut in there. Then when we go back into RetroBat, open up our Windows games, here we have Slay the Spire, and when I launch that, it's going to simply just open up Steam and launch the game from my computer like a remote control. This is the easy way to do it for games that are too big to fit on your drive, or games that you already have installed everywhere, so you don't need to clog up your drive with games. But that is not the true portable way of carrying your games everywhere you go, like I said in the beginning of this video. So we are going to install Steam games to this drive and get them running from this drive wherever we go. Now, once again, just like with the previous games, we're not going to dump them all straight into this folder, because then we'll be clogged up with all kinds of files we don't want. So again, we're going to come to the game drive and use the PC games folder we made earlier. And we're going to put our Steam games in here. So if you come to Steam, hit the cogwheel on a game you like, go to Manage and Browse Local Files. Here you'll find the folder for that game. Go up one folder in the directory so you can see the actual whole game folder. And I'm going to grab a couple of games here, Slay the Spire and Stardew Valley. I'm going to copy them and paste them here in my PC games folder on my external drive. An issue you might face when launching Steam games is it might tell you there's no Steam App ID, or it can't figure out the Steam App ID. I haven't experienced this, but I've read about it a lot. So let's say, for example, the game Littlewood. If this had a problem finding the Steam App ID, the way to fix that would be to create a new text file and call it steam_appid.txt. Then open that text file, and then in here you need to type the specific ID for that game. I'll link the SteamDB website in the description below. You just need to search for the name of the game, and you'll see here the ID. So here is the game Littlewood. It has an ID of 894940, so we'll copy that, paste it here, and save it. That will fix any kind of Steam App ID issues you might face. Now, I've not faced this issue, but I have read about it a lot. So in order to mitigate this, I've included that as part of my sync function. So when we double click this synchronize function, not only does it go through every game in the PC games folder and create a launcher for it in RetroBat, but it also figures out the app ID for each individual game and create those Steam App ID TXT files as well. So it's going to do absolutely everything all in one for you. In just a couple of seconds, it's going to go through all of the games. It's going to create those Steam App ID text files for you. It's going to go into the RetroBat ROMs Windows folder and create a launcher for each individual game as well. And probably the best part of all is that inside that launcher, it will add this little piece of code which tells the game to launch no matter what drive letter has been assigned. So whether it's an F drive on this computer or a D drive on another, everything will work beautifully. You only need to run this once whenever you add new PC games. So if you were to add some new PC games or delete some from the list, just run this file once and then everything will be done. This tool is really useful, but it is not perfect. The way it works is that it goes into each folder and finds the largest application and it assumes that's the game. In many cases it is, but you can see here with the game Cassette Beasts, Workshop Utility is actually very slightly larger than Cassette Beasts, so it's going to incorrectly set Workshop Utility as the game file. So what we're going to do in that case, and this will not happen often, is just copy the name of the file like this, Cassette Beasts, come into the RetroBat ROMs Windows folder, find the Cassette Beasts launcher, right click, edit, and as you can see here, it's trying to launch Workshop Utility. And that's not what we want. We want to launch Cassette Beasts. So I'll just paste the true name I just copied, save, and now it's good to go. That will not happen often, but if you notice anything launching the wrong program, that's all you need to do. You just need to right-click, edit, and just change the name of this to the correct name. And with that, you're pretty much good to go. You've got RetroBat here with all your ROMs, PC games specifically for all your computer games, and the little function that just makes everything easy. And there we have it. Scraping box art for PC games is always a bit hit or miss. It might require a little bit of trial and error, but here will be all your PC games with none of those cluttered other files ready to just launch with one click. So if I want to play Moonstone Island through Steam, I just select the game like any other game inside RetroBat and it's going to launch Steam and launch the game for me. So now you have a portable drive with all of your games, from your retro games to your Steam library, ready to take wherever you go. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope you now also have a portable library of games ready to take with you wherever you may go. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you again very soon.